Okay, so here's my brutally honest thoughts on Freya. Freya has been a phenomenal addition into the DPS roster. I think there's a few places where she needs a lot of help, and that's what I'm going to talk about in depth today, as well as a proper breakdown and analysis. I actually really wanted to take a lot of time playing her before I give a breakdown. I've been exclusively playing her at least 4 hours every day, a few hours in quick play, and then some in scrims, and uh, I have a lot to say about her, but first of all, I've not been able to mesh well with Sojourn, Adventure. I like playing them, but they're kind of missing an oomph from what I'm looking for. Echo was really like the last character that was like new to Overwatch into the DPS role that really fit that projectile style gameplay that I'm a big fan of. And now Freya kind of comes in and she's really filling in that like area that I wanted her to, where I needed that like new projectile DPS mid-range to long-range character that basically kind of took Hanzo's spot in the game. But at the same time, I'm in a position where I can somewhat confidently say that I don't think she's gonna force Hanzo out of Hanzo's current spot, where Hanzo's also really good mid to long range, or well, he's not that good at long range, but there's some competition. Now, where can Freya excel? Where will Hanzo excel? They're both kind of in this like little niche slot. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First of all, I just want to talk about Freya and her kit. I think Freya has been by far the safest character that they've ever made, which in a way makes her come off a little bit underwhelming. It makes her look really simple and easy to pick up, but her kit has a lot of depth, and as always, depth in my hero shooter is always welcome. So Freya, in that regard, she's a great character that you can pick up at the skill floor, and as you're playing her, as you're learning her, she has a very, very ridiculously high skill ceiling. She's very mechanically intensive, so like if your aim is bad on projectile, you're gonna have a really bad time with her. And overall, she's just really fun to play. But there's areas where she needs fine tuning. But overall, from the kit perspective, she's got the updraft, she's got that jet dash. I mean, pretty much both her abilities, the shift and her E, are basically like Jet's abilities from Valorant, which is kind of funny when you think about it. And then you could also argue she's got the jet sniping ability, but come on, I'm messing around a bit too much now. But anyway, so Freya, her kit, her crossbow, thumbs up. The ultimate is also, I like the idea, but maybe a soft rework to the ultimate or some perks to help it feel better would be welcome. I actually thought the ultimate perhaps like shut down ability, so like it makes sense. Like she's shooting out a bunch of bolas. If she catches you, you can't move. Like the fact that people are just really intensely slowed, if I'm not mistaken, in the ult, because I still don't understand how the ult functions. The interactions I've been getting have been really all over the place. But I thought the ult could use that if it catches people in the middle or near the middle, there's a circle, it would shut down your abilities and line you up to being taken out. Sorry about that background noise. There's not much I can do about it. It's been a bit hectic over here, but I really want to get this video out, so just bear with me in this video. So that's the thing about Freya's ultimate that I'm personally a little bit of a question mark on is, couldn't they have made it so that if she catches you with the ballers, your ability shut down? It makes sense. You're wrapped up. You're held in place. Let's shut you down. But then again, it would be too similar to the way Graviton Search kind of functions. So it's just kind of weird. I do like the fact that it charges up really fast. It's kind of trying to be like like a tracer type ultimate where it's very fast charging. It's not meant to be this big team fight winning ultimate. It's just meant to help secure 1 or 2 kills max, and that's what you should be trying to do with that ultimate. So I like the ultimate, like the concept. The wind up time and then the release time is very long, which is what kind of screws it over. So we could look into fine tuning those animations. That'd be great. Now let's talk about where Freya kind of falls off and some of her strengths. So I'm going to talk about her strength. She's a great team fighter. This is the keyword over here. She's a great team fighter, but then her biggest drop off is she is by far one of the worst duelists in the game. She does not want to take a 1v1. So to those of you that are new, a duelist is basically a term we use in hero shooters to characters and how they perform in their 1v1. So like Genji's a great duelist. Tracer's a great duelist. Like Mei can be a good duelist. Sombra is a phenomenal duelist. Reaper's a decently good duelist. Cassidy's a very good duelist. So these characters that are able to take isolated 1v1s, we judge them from the POV that, well, how do they perform in a duel? And sadly, Freya has an absolute atrocity when it comes to taking duels, and a lot of that has to do with how bad her left click is. Now her left click is okay for basically spamming it into tanks. It's not even that good spamming into squishies, because the first 4 shots shots are accurate, but after those first 4 shots, the next shots that come out begin to spread out even more and more and more, which I don't understand why they did that, because it just kind of, it feels unnecessary, especially with how the damage is really not all that high on the left click either, and it's just supposed to be a complementary damage to set up her right clicks. Now the right clicks have their own issues with downtime. You can use your dashes to reset the right click and keep the flow going, but most of the time it's only really useful on spamming on the enemy tank, and then like shutting down maybe one person with it. But because the hitboxes in Overwatch are so all over the place, it's so difficult to get the E off. Not just the hitboxes are so difficult, but everybody's mobile as hell, right? So because everybody's mobile as hell, it can be difficult to land with the shots. But she's a high skill, high reward hero. I'm a big fan of that. I've been landing some crazy shots, and dare I say that she's probably the character that when you land a shot on her that seems impossible to do and that target dies, it is the most satisfying feeling in the game. Absolutely love Freya's design in that regard. So the first thing that I would do to help out Freya's kit is I want to look at the left click. I think we could tighten the spread. I think we could make it a little bit more consistent. I don't think we need to really touch her damage numbers at the moment, but definitely in terms of helping the kit feel a little bit better, the left click being tightened up, and then the ultimate becoming a little bit more faster wind up time and release wise would really help take it to the next level. So I think that's the first step that you take with her. Now the actual gimmick of Freya is the right click left click gameplay, where she zooms in, she shoots out that explosive arrow, and it takes out targets. I think it's okay at the moment. It's really good to use on tanks that don't have armor. So if you're fighting Junker Queen, Mauga, Roadhog, Azaria, if the bubbles are down, you're farming those tanks. It is absurd. Now the problem is any tank with armor or Azaria with good bubble management, they just walk into Freya. Freya, like I said, she has no proper pressure cycle that makes the enemy enemy tank kind of fear that, well, I shouldn't probably just walk into this character, they'll do something to me. But because Freya's kit is so empty on her shift and her E, just in general, it makes it very easy for tanks that if they they've kept in track, or if they just outright just walk on her, brute force it, more often than not, Freya will die. She's also surprisingly easy to dive, despite having so much mobility. It's very easy to get that mobility out because she's also using that mobility for her pressure cycle in order to keep following up with her bolts, with her her explosive arrows. And if she's pretty much used up like the movement for that, and you just kind of walk on her, she basically falls apart. So Freya, like, in a weird way, she's balanced. She reminds me of when they first released Juno, where Juno was balanced, and then they buffed up the wrong things about Juno. So if they do go the route where they want to buff and fine-tune Freya, the only thing that needs help is look at the ultimate for now, and look at the left click for now. You don't have to experiment and touch anything else on the hero's kit. I think she's fine as is for now. We want to be a little bit careful with this character, and at the end of the day, I'm not the one that makes the calls. I know it's Blizzard that decides, hey, we need a new overpowered character or not, to encourage people to play the game and have their feel-good moment. But I think with Freya, she's already strong. I think there's just areas where she feels really awkward. And I don't think any other DPS character has this type of awkwardness. I don't really think even characters like Ashe and Widow have as much of an awkward duelist moment than Freya does. Like Widow, they even tightened the spread on her SMG. Ashe is already like a mini, like little, pistol that she shoots with her gun. Like the gameplay is similar to a pistol. But in Freya's case, when it comes down to her taking those close range duels, she feels pathetic. So I'm not saying she needs to be OP. I'm just saying they could help with the left clicks being a little bit more accurate to help the hero feel a little bit better. So Freya, she gets a very solid 9.5 out of 10. For me, I think there's some animation bugs and some clunkiness in her kit, like I said, like in the ultimate. Then sometimes when you're like zooming in, zooming out, sometimes the animations will cancel into one another, and then you have to reload the bolt. It's very annoying if that happens. From what I understand, that's actually a bug. I also probably did a really poor job of explaining that bug, so terribly sorry in regards to that. But overall, gameplay feel, hero fantasy, I like it. They played really well into the hero fantasy. She's a bounty hunter. She's got this really cute passive that if you kill the same target 3 times, they explode into money. It's funny. It'd be cool if you actually got something a little bit more from that, but you don't. But it's okay. It's just a funny gimmick. So Freya, she gets a good 9.5 out of 10. Just fine tune her and then leave her as is. I think she's fine. She's probably my favorite new hero release in a very long time, outside of Iliari and Juno, because I really enjoyed playing Iliari and Juno in the support role. And I really like Freya's perks. Sorry, so that's the last thing I want to talk about. Freya's perks are very, very damn good, but most of the time you're almost always going for the slow because it's just so effective into super tanks. And then number two, on her major upgrade, you want to get the free updraft, so you can get that extra free jump, you get that extra reset onto your explosive arrows, and you can keep that pressure cycle just rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. So that's my opinion so far on Freya. I want to hear what you guys think about Freya down below. And final commentary, as somebody who's played Hanzo for over like, man, over 1,000+ hours. Back in the day, it was like pretty high ranked with him and the other projectile heroes that I played with Genji, Echo, and Pharah. So my opinion on her and Hanzo is, I don't think she's gonna contest Hanzo's position in the game that much, but Hanzo still needs a lot of help in what he's trying to do as well, because he's way too slow. And when you look at Freya, like, if I'm not wrong, Freya can get out twice as much burst damage as Hanzo can in their like natural pressure cycle. So Hanzo needs help. I don't think Freya overtakes him. I think they both are going to be very healthily competing for that mid-range sniper-esh like spot. And it's not that bad. Like I don't think if Freya had a little bit more in her kit, like overall across abilities, then definitely I could see her overtaking Hanzo. But they made her such a safe design that I just don't see that happening. So anyways, everybody, that's it for my opinion so far on Freya. Let me know your thoughts down below. I will be reading a lot of comments, so let's get to discussing Freya.